One Reaction with Levy, and welcome back to the Daily One Reaction. Today is Monday, June 7th, and we've got a big day of sports from yesterday to break down and from tonight to preview. So let's start it off. Hawks 76ers, that was the first NBA playoff game. You had that game at 1 p.m. yesterday on ABC, and the Hawks did win 128-124, but a couple adjustments I see that could be very easily fixed for Philadelphia, and it starts with Trae Young. How do you guard him? I think you got to put Mason Thybulle all over him. He guarded him once throughout the whole game, and that was at the end of the first quarter. I mean, Trae Young put up 25 points in the first half against Trae Young against Danny Green, who's just much bigger and just can't move with Trae Young. They tried the Simmons things. Then he had 3 fouls, so I think you either go Simmons, but I think Thybulle is the best option. Yes, he might be a liability on the offensive side, but he can hit threes as he showed you yesterday. I just think in Game 2, you got to cut off the head and Trae Young, and then you just trust your offensive pieces over a lesser Trae Young against Matisse Thybulle. I think you got to try it out. I would go with Thybulle on Young right now, and then I would just stagger his minutes with Trae Young's and call it a day there. If that doesn't work, then you probably go Simmons, maybe bring in Tyrese Maxey, but I would start with your best defender and Matisse Thybulle. You got to make that adjustment. And I think Atlanta, just for credit, no matter if they win or lose the series, they're just so well built. They got wings, they got bigs, and they're all revolved around Trae Young. They just got guys that can shoot, make threes. Coach Nate McMillan, he's been terrific in helping Young use those pieces, making those correct decisions, making those passes that he made. He's not even a Curry. He's more like a facilitator and a scorer at the same time. He's at that combo guard level. He's been terrific. I still think Philly has more talent. I think Tobias Harris will have a bigger impact than we saw in Game 1. I think Seth Curry will have a bigger impact. But the Hawks are very dangerous if the 76ers can't figure out how to put Thybulle on Young or figure out how to get Simmons on Young or someone besides Danny Green, because if the 76ers cannot defend Young, commit that many turnovers, not make as many free throws, it's going to be a very tough series for Philadelphia. Atlanta is very good and getting better every day, and Trae Young's only 22. Mavs Clips, that was the 3:30 game. Kawhi, he took over 6 and 7, and then the bench was terrific. Terrence Mann, what a performance. Marcus Morris had 20 plus. I mean, that is what role players are supposed to do at home, take over the game, and it was just too much for Luka to handle. I mean, you look at this Dallas Mavericks team, Porzingis just doesn't feel like he works. He just doesn't work. Josh Richardson failed. I mean, there's a bunch of things you can do, per se. I don't think Porzingis has great trade value. There's been some rumors. Maybe you trade Kemba Walker for Porzingis, 2 terrible assets right now. I don't love that. I think there's very limited in what Dallas can do right now. It's going to be tough. We'll see what happens down the stretch. Maybe go for a free agent. But Luka, he's going to need some more help, and they got to reconstruct this roster in a better way. Versus the Jazz, the Clips will face the Jazz coming up tomorrow night. It will come down to opposites, I believe. Utah, their weakness is their wings. Their strength is their point guard and inside presence. And then for the Clippers, it's the exact opposite. Strength, wings, weakness, inside. To me, I think it's going to be very tough for LA to do what they did against Dallas on the offensive side. It's going to be very tough to drive the ball and get those easy layups. They're not going to get that against Rudy Gobert. They're just not. And I think it's about size, because the guards of Utah are terrific, but I just don't trust their wings guarding Kawhi Leonard. Who guards Kawhi Leonard? And I think that's the difference ultimately in this series. I do like the Clippers in 7. I think it's a very good series, entertaining. I think the Jazz win Game 1, but at the end of the day, I'm taking LA in 7. Bucks Nets, that is tonight. Once again, 7:30, Game 2. And I think for Milwaukee, it's about that offensive rebounding. This is a must-win game to me if they want to stay in this series over Brooklyn. No James Harden tonight. Middleton needs to play much better. Holiday needs to lock down Kyrie in this one. This is a must-win for Milwaukee. To have any chance, this is the game where no Harden. You still went on the road. You got the size of that battle. I think Budenholzer's got to win this one for Milwaukee. I think Giannis, get him out of those pick-and-roll situation where he's handling the ball. Give him the pick-and-roll opportunity to set those screens and get him rolling to the rim. They just don't have enough size, Brooklyn, to compete with the Giannis and Brook Lopez. Maybe you stagger their minutes, but you've got to have size on the floor at all times to me against this Brooklyn team, because that's where your advantage lies. It's the size up front, because Kevin Durant's probably their biggest player right now. You can't let Blake Griffin take over the game like he did in Game 1. Nuggets Suns, that is tonight as well. Guards, I think this is another matchup. Guards versus bigs. I mean, what will the impact of Will Barton be? Expected to come back in the middle of this series. And then for the Suns, the main question will be who defends Nikola Jokic. Probably going to be a combination of DeAndre Ayton. I could see Saric getting involved, Jay Crowder. So I think they're going to throw a lot of bodies in there. Do you double him? And if you double or you just hold up in the one-on-one situation, it's going to be very interesting to see what Monty Williams does. I think he's too good of a coach to not let one player kill him. I really do. And I think Booker and Paul just have the advantage at the guard position. I just don't trust Michael Porter as a 2 right now. I think it's a very close series. Jamal Murray's in this game. I think it's a completely different series. I think the Nuggets win in about 5 or 6. No Murray kind of puts them in a bind offensively if they can kind of pick their poison with Jokic. I trust Monty Williams. This is a very good defensive team in Phoenix. So I'm going to take Phoenix in 6. I think it's a good series. Jokic will steal a couple games, but I think Paul and Booker are too much. Then we also had last night Floyd versus Logan Paul. Crazy exhibition. Floyd did not knock him out. I didn't expect him to. He's much smaller. But Paul looked pretty good. I mean, nothing interesting in terms of, I thought the announcers were a little against him, which is obvious, but the ugging strategy worked, and you can make as much fun of him as he wants. It worked, and it was fun, predictable. Floyd won't fight again. He probably would have knocked him out if he was 25. But Paul's no joke, and it was nice to see Chad Johnson also fighting. That Arias fight, too, very good last night. I don't know if it was worth $50. We'll talk about that at a different point. NHL Playoffs. Islanders Bruins tonight, Game 5. That is a very interesting series. Series tied at 2. This is a pivotal Game 5 for both teams. We also had last night Colorado and Vegas. Vegas tied the series up at 2. Since Game 1, where they got killed because of no rest and no Andre Fleury, they've been the better team. They've won 2 of the last 3. It feels like they've should have won all 3. This is a very interesting bounce back spot for Colorado coming up tomorrow night. We also got Canadiens-Jets tonight. Canadiens dominating that series 3-0. Then we also had the Lightning and Hurricanes. That will go on tomorrow night. Tampa Bay has a nice control of that series. So we're getting down the stretch in these NHL playoff series. We're just starting the NBA second round. And then finally, I just want to hit on this Dame thing that is going on. The post after they lost, and now Jason Kidd not coming over to coach because of Dame Lillard's endorsement. It's going to be very interesting to see what he does. I think there's a lot of scenarios that can happen. Obviously, the most likely is him staying in Portland, running it back once again. But when your team goes 15 for 47 from the field, I mean, it doesn't matter how much control you are. It depends if Damian Lillard wants to win, because I don't think you can win in Portland right now. Of course, Portland wants to keep you because they want to be relevant, but Dame, I think it makes a lot of sense to move out here. I really do. Maybe it's Dallas. That was a spot potentially talked about. Maybe it's Miami. Maybe it's New York, hopefully. Cross my fingers. But it's going to be, if I'm Dame, if I'm a Bradley Beal right now, your teams are not winning the NBA championship. And especially for Dame Lillard, you're 32. And you've been on this team. You've given it all to the city. CJ McCollum hasn't been the number 2 you wanted. I would move out. Dallas or Miami are probably the best team fits. If you really want to be in the big stage, you go to New York. And if you can maybe pair a star, I would move out if I'm Damian Lillard. Okay. One reaction with Levy the Daily. One reaction here on June